Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I wanted to start by asking if you've been working at center this spring, and is that kind of where you see yourself being? Because obviously you'd repped there quite a bit behind Mike Minute before.
Um, I have been. We have a bunch of other guys that have been too. I mean, I know that I can play anywhere on the inside of the line, so um, just depends on what my role ends up being. But yeah, I've been playing some center.
We'll go to Dave Becker.
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, thanks. I'm just wondering, what your early thoughts are on Coach Yersich and what he's brought to the table just through a few days of spring practice here.
Well, the first thing is his big thing is energy. He brings a lot of energy to practice every day. He brought a lot of energy to all of our winter workouts, and I mean he's very detailed. His offense it's fun to play in, and I mean he's just been a boost to all the guys around so far this spring, just with his energy overall.
Mark Brennan.
Mike, what are the differences between playing guard and center, and what are some of the responsibilities that people who maybe don't understand the game don't know about playing center? Thank you.
Well, communications, it's a huge part of playing offensive line to begin with. So no matter where you are on the line, communication's a key factor to it. But as a center, you're kind of, I guess I'd say, the head communicator. You make sure that everybody's on the same page, because as a left guard, it's hard to be on the same page with the right guard and right tackle. But the center can kind of help make that connection and make sure that everyone's playing as a unit. And that's kind of ultimately the leading role, is to just make sure we're all on the same page, knowing what we have to do and playing together as a unit.
Hey, Mike, how much more comfortable are you today with Coach Troutwine? Coil and punch, is that? I'm not sure this specific to the technique that he teaches, but how much better do you feel today than maybe you even felt at the end of the season, or certainly especially the beginning of last season?
I mean, it's something that we've been working a lot more on our fundamentals, just in free time that we have or during workouts than we have in the past. So we have been working on it a lot so far in the spring. But I think the biggest thing for me was just last season, going through practices and everything, just working all the new fundamentals, because we didn't get this spring ball period last year. So jumping into the new fundamentals that he was trying to teach, we were doing that pretty much in June rather than doing it now. So a lot of that comfort came from just repping it every single day in the season and consciously working on it in just every period in practice and every opportunity I got, just having it in my mind and working it.
Rich Scarcella.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for your time. You just touched on that, but how much has spring practice benefited the offensive line this year? And secondly, if I may, what do you see from Sean Clifford at this time? What do you expect from him going forward this season? Thank you.
Well, I mean, it's already pretty clear how huge spring practice can be, because you kind of lose the perspective of what it can do for some players. And there's guys especially the younger guys who get here now, already through 3 practices that we've had, we've only put pads on once. Through those 3 practices, you could see so much growth through them in just such a short period of time, and we weren't given this opportunity last year, so it really puts it into perspective what this period can do for not just the offensive line, but it has to be everybody on the team. And then Sean, I mean, he's just a leader. Everybody on the team knows what we're going to get out of him every day. He's super consistent in the energy that he brings and the focus that he brings to each practice. So, I mean, all of us on the offense, all of us on the team know that he's a guy that we can lean on because of that.
John Sauber.
Mike, how different is the blocking scheme under Coach Yersich compared to what you did under Coach Shiraka and Coach Ronnie? And what's that adjustment been like for you?
Um, I don't really get into specifics, but it's not too much different than what we've done in the past. There's certain schemes that we've done before that we might have not done in recent years that we're doing again. It's just stuff like that. But most of it's pretty familiar stuff. It's nothing that's going to change too radically with different schemes.
Great pick.
Hey, Mike, how you doing? Good morning. Just curious. Obviously, it's rare, I think, to install a new offense 2 years in a row. But how much further along are you guys, or are you further along now that you can install this in person and not just over Zoom? Kind of going back to what your answer was about spring practice and guys taking a step after just 3 practices.
I was about to say it goes along with what I said earlier. Like, even last year, too, another thing that we lost that we kind of took for granted and didn't have that perspective was meeting time. And we've been meeting all throughout the spring and already had more meeting time during this spring ball period than we would have had in this period last year just over Zoom where we were all at home. So, after that perspective, it looks more like an opportunity. Like every meeting is an opportunity for us to learn because we can see how much different it can be, how much better it can make us.
Daniel Gallen.
Hey, Mike, you mentioned Coach Yearsich's energy a little bit earlier. How does that kind of show up? Is it him running around? Is it him yelling? How does that show up on the practice field?
It's kind of everything. He's a really verbal guy. He does run around at practice a lot, but whenever we're at team periods, we're doing walkthroughs, you always know where he is on the field. You can always hear his voice. You always know what he's saying, whether it's to the offense, whether it's to the quarterbacks or another position group. His presence is just felt as a coordinator while we're on the field practicing, working.
Nubias Wilborn.
What has been so far, and it's only 3 days, so it's kind of even awkward to ask this, but what has been the, highlight of these 3 days as far as getting to touch and actually getting to just get back to somewhat normal as much as possible?
I guess this kind of goes along with what I've been saying, but the highlight is just that we're doing it. We have the opportunity to. It's got taken away from us last year, so this is just something that I know I'm not taking any of these practices for granted, and I'm really excited to have the opportunity to go out and practice right now, especially after not having it last year. So I think just that's overall the biggest highlight.
Dave Ecker.
Yeah, hi Mike, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I guess what would you say this team's attitude is right now, given everything that happened last year? How would you describe this team's attitude heading into the spring?
This team's attitude right now is we know that we can control who we are and what we become as a team. So right now we keep that in mind, but we're just focused on the process right now and the work that we do every single day. We're not necessarily focused on the results, not emotionally attached to what the results may be to that process, but we're just focused on taking it one day at a time. Like I'm today, right now I'm focused on this practice today, and that's about it. So it's about focusing on the process right now for us.
Mark Brennan.
Mike, what has it been like watching Juice develop, knowing what he's gone through, and what do you see as his upside? It's pretty incredible. Just everything that he's been through, being here through all of it too, seeing where he was at right after it happened, as soon as he got back to campus, and then now seeing what he's been able to do, especially last season. He might not have gotten a ton of snaps last season, but he played very well last season in the opportunities that he got. So I know personally I'm very excited for Juice Scruggs this season. And I think he can be an anchor to our offensive line. I really do. I think with the fundamentals that he could play with and the drive that he has to learn the game more and get better, I think he can be a really special player.
Roger Snyder.
Mike, what can you tell us about Landon Tenpenny? I mean, obviously he wanted to get here as soon as he could. What's it been like getting to know him a little bit this winter and spring?
The guy's in a good place with where he's at mentally and his head. He's very focused on what he's doing. He doesn't take any opportunities for granted. He's always working extra time in the weight room, extra time at the field in Haluba. He has a really good mentality about what he's come here to do, and I think that what he's doing to make those things happen have shown that.
Rich Garcello.
Mike, what are your initial impressions of the two new guys up front on the defensive line, Arnold and Derek, and what have you seen from them even in the first three practices? Thanks.
Are you talking about the transfers?
Yes.
Both of them just already in the three practices seen a decent amount of them, and they're both really solid players. You can tell that they're experienced in playing college football. They're experienced in the speed. AK has incredible get off, and Derek, he can sit on a double team. So I already know that playing against them after one practice. So I know that those guys are going to be able to bring something to our defensive line and make it a little more dynamic. So I'm excited to see that.
Nate Bauer.
Mike, within the 2 or 3 deep, however deep you guys go, how much, I guess, rotation is there? Do you get reps with everybody between all the different rotations?
Trout's actually kind of crazy with the rotations. There's guys who will work in with at all 3 groups sometimes, the 1s, 2s, 3s. He'll throw guys in with the 1s just randomly to see how they'll perform, see how they'll handle the situation. He'll move guys up for a practice, move guys down. He just likes to see how guys handle certain situations and stuff like that, and how they handle maybe certain adversity or how they handle a new opportunity for them. So there's a lot of rotating around, but we all know each other really well. We can all really play together well, so it's not much of an issue at practice.
T. Frank.
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. The last couple years, there's been a lot of stability along the offensive line with Will, Mike, and Rashid kind of having relatively set spots. I know that Will was doing a little bit more moving last season, but for the most part, those 3 guys were in those 3 positions. This spring, there are a lot more openings. There's a lot more starting positions up for grabs. What's it been like playing with so many guys that have position versatility and having all of those spots open? What's that situation been like for everybody?
It's kind of cool because we have so many guys that can play at so many different spots, and there's a lot of depth here, and there's so many guys that I know I can trust to go out on the field on a Saturday and win us a game. So I think the biggest thing is at certain spots there's so much competition between like a handful of guys. It's not just 1 or 2 guys competing for a spot. There's a good handful of guys competing for multiple different spots and all over the line, whether it's one guy competing for a spot on one side and the other. There's competition all over right now. So I think that's the biggest thing. There's a lot of guys who have the talent to play here, and the competition is off the charts right now.
Mark Brennan.
Mike, I'm curious if you've gotten to know Eric Wilson at all, the guy who's transferring in from Harvard, and how does that work? Do you guys, does he communicate with the team and the staff, or what? How does that kind of work when he's not quite here yet? Thank you.
I actually knew Eric from the recruiting process a little bit, kind of weird, but I've reached out to him. He's reached out to me just a couple times over the last few months. I know our our fathers know each other fairly well too, and he's a guy that I've already been around, and I know that he's going to fit well here, just knowing him from a base level. I'm excited to get him back on campus, and again, that's another guy who can kind of be mentioned in the fold with all these other guys and bring more competition to this group.
We have top for 2 more. We'll go to Audrey Snyder.
Like everywhere Coach Yersich has been, the one thing people always say about his offense is the tempo and how impressive that is. I guess kind of in your own words, how would you describe this offense and what excites you maybe about that tempo?
I mean, the tempo is a big thing for him, and we do a lot of different things with it. We try to be very versatile with the tempo that we can use as an offense because we think it can be an advantage for us. And honestly, most of it is just we think that we can have an advantage in the fourth quarter, and we think that we can wear down a defense over 4 quarters playing at the tempo that we do, and we think that we can be in better shape.
Nate Bauer.
Just to maybe build off of Mark's question a couple of questions ago, how have you processed the era of the transfer portal, just from off season to off season, not knowing teammates coming back or coming in? You know, how have you kind of dealt with all of that?
I mean, I don't really have an opinion on the whole transfer portal. If guys are making a decision that they think is best for them, especially guys on my team, like I'm always going to support the guys that I've played with who I know sacrifice with me. Like I'll support the decision that they want to make if they think it's the best decision for them. But at the same time, I'm at Penn State. I'm here. I'm focused on Penn State and what we're doing right now. So.